What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening or watching Mike on the Mic podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with someone I've been able to talk to a few times, with the first time having him on the podcast, one of Chicago's favorites, very quickly becoming a Chicago legend, third baseman of the Chicago Cubs, Patrick Wisdom. Patrick, how are you? And thank you for coming on today.
Oh, what's going on, man? Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your show, and I'm excited for this time with you.
So, we got a lot to talk about, Pat, because, you made a lot of noise this year. You made a lot of noise. And to be, and I say this with pride. This is not, anybody who thinks this is a shot does not understand the game. To be 30 years old and to be in a Rookie of the Year conversation, and don't downplay it. Don't give me any of that crap of, oh, I did okay. Patrick, you killed it. You were amazing, and you won the hearts of the city of Chicago in a very, very difficult year. And that's to be the nicest I can be about it, because the Sox are great. The Cubs had a thing, and we're going to get into that later, but it's a situation to where you truly did bring the heart and soul into the Chicago Cubs. And before we kick off into any of that, I feel like so many people know you now as the guy who plays for the Chicago Cubs, but I know the guy who was originally, and I got love for you, Pat, but I ain't gonna pretend like I don't know. Drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, the rivals, in 2012. Yeah. Can you take us through what it's been like in that journey so far of just, this being your rookie year, but drafted in 2012? What's that process been like, and what was the grind really like for you?
Yeah, so I took the process to heart, and I think the journey has been the best cherry on top, I would say. This year was great. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love the year, and I think it was an accumulation of all those years that I put, the hard work in. And then, to see it kind of come to fruition this year was very rewarding, and I'm super grateful for that. But, I don't take that journey and I don't take that process for granted. I think it kind of shaped who I am today, and I'm super grateful for the long journey. But hey, I think there's different paths for different cats, so I'm cool with it. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to trademark that one. But it's definitely a situation. You look at it right now, and you see so many people giving up on it. I don't know if you follow the White Sox or any other players, but the Yerminator, the guy on the South Side, he's one of those guys. He went up, he looked amazing. And then he got brought back down, and he contemplating retiring. And for you, not to get personal with you, but what was it that kept you driving? What was it that said one day we're going to get here, throughout 8 years really of just being in the minors and just grinding and doing that? Because I know it's a struggle. We talked about it backstage about when I played, and even me playing high school ball, I was like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough go. So for you, what was it that really truly kept you motivated and in love with the game?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and this game is so hard to wrap your mind around because it's a game of failure, and so you usually walk away from the field feeling defeated. But I think for me, it was knowing, and I don't want to sound cocky, but like knowing I was good enough to play at this level, and knowing that I could contribute to the team and play good defense and hit the ball at the ballpark. I knew I could do all those things, so that is what kept me going. And then my wife and my family and my support system has just been incredibly supportive as well. And I think that's an important factor to note too, is like having a good support circle outside of the game to continue that fire when it may seem like it's dwindling inside you. So I just want to note that too. But like I said, I think it's that internal confidence that you got to keep feeding. And I mean, I use that word cockiness, but it's just like being cocky in your talents and like understanding that you can play this game, and not losing sight of that, because I think this game is very good at like stripping that away from you. Any chance it can get, it's humbling you. And so, I just, in the off seasons, I would work so hard just to get back to that confident mindset and go into the year knowing that I could contribute.
Right. And I think, I'm going to speak for you because I know you're not going to speak for yourself. Pimping 28 home runs. I think you deserve to be a little bit cocky. I think you've earned it, and you've earned the right. And we've talked about it on this show time and time again. And it's not a shot. It's not a shot. It's just from my outside looking in. When I see Javier Baez struggling and guys like that, when you have that much success and then you have that humbling moment, at such a young age, I feel like it's so hard to kind of get back to that momentum. Where with you, you understood the process, you understood the grind, and you understood that this is my high right now, but I have to keep elevating on this, and it can always go back down, always go back up. And I think that's a beautiful point that you made, because that's really what the game is. You know, you're batting 300. That's 3 out of 10. Like that's what the game of baseball is. And as great as that is, you know, we have to look at it from that perspective. And I think that transitions to our next point. You know, we talk about Wrigley Field and the atmosphere that brings, just being there. I've seen it firsthand with Nick Castellanos, you, Frank Schwindel, and so many others. Frank the Tank, especially, one of those guys. They're just fun to watch, and they have these rejuvenating careers. To you, you know, versus playing with the Rangers and versus playing with St. Louis and coming to Chicago, you have that experience of the crowd atmosphere and what Wrigley Field is. Did that have any impact to you on why you think you had so much success?
Yeah, I think it was a huge factor, and I think it played a huge role. Because I mean, playing at Wrigley Field is amazing. It gives me goosebumps right now thinking about it. You know, the crowd is right on top of you, and they have your back. When you play the outfield, they're chirping you and they're talking to you. You know, and then of course, playing on the road, Cub fans travel super well. There's Cubs
Yeah.
fan all over the country, and they come out and support us. So we feel the love on the road too, and that is huge for us as players, just because it kind of you get that home feeling.
Right.
Um, but yeah, playing at Wrigley is something else, and there's nothing like it. The fans have been great to me. They've won my heart over, just like I've won their heart over, I hope. And so, you know, I look forward to playing in front of them again. And you know, like you mentioned, Frank the Tank and other guys. It's about having fun with the fans and interacting with them and making the game
Right.
fun. But at the same time, like we're there to win, obviously, right? And
Mhm.
so I think there's that like that line that we toe a lot of, like, you know, interacting, having fun, but also like being competitive and competing and wanting to win. So it's integrating those two and finding that balance.
Right. And I think the greatest point you made, and so many others make as well, Wrigley North. I mean, you're playing a division rival in Milwaukee, and they call that stadium Wrigley North is because Cubs fans travel deep. But you brought up, you know, Frank the Tank and other teammates as well. And before we get into the total annihilation of the entire lineup that was mid-season, I just want to talk about those relationships. And you know, a lot of people don't get that understanding or that feeling of what it's like to be surrounded against a lot of great other talents. So when you were with the Cubs, you know, early on in the season, and there was, you know, a very crowded infield, you know, you have Baez, Rizzo, Bryant, and then Contreras and many others. What is that like for you to be in a clubhouse with those guys, and what's that atmosphere like?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing being in that clubhouse. Those guys, you know, they ran the clubhouse very well and they made it super fun. They're very good about, you know, breaking the ice right away as soon as you get in there, cracking jokes, making you do stuff, you know, kind of like I said, breaking that ice, easing you in. So there's not that kind of awkwardness of like, who's that guy? You know, who's
Mm,
the new guy kind of thing. So they're very good about incorporating you right away. Rizzo is very good about it, and they make you feel like one of the guys, like you've been there, you know, five plus years. So you're just one of the guys, and you're a family, and so that way it makes going out and playing that much easier because you don't have to worry about like, oh, I don't have to impress these other guys, or you know, more so than the fans or the coaches. You're like, oh
right,
shoot, I got to impress like Rizzo or Brian or Baez, or I got to make sure I do a good throw. It's like, nah, like it's the same game. They
right.
know how to catch, they know how to throw. Like it's the same thing. It's just you've seen them on TV, and so they kind of have that aura around them. But they were good about breaking that and making you feel like one of the guys.
Right. And now when we talk about the atmosphere of like what was going into this season, there were a couple different narratives that went through like several times of what the 2020-2021 Cubs were going to be. You know, at one point, you know, there's a no-hitter with Zach Davies, Kimbrel, and all the guys.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite forever and will always will be, you're up there, but Andrew Chafin for life.
Oh yeah,
It's without a doubt my favorite like
yeah, he's
personality I've ever
awesome.
seen. But you know, you have the no hitter against the Dodgers, and everyone's talking, at least in Chicago. I don't know about the world. Is talking about White Sox Cubs World Series. It's going to happen, and then you see other times where it's like they're going to blow it up. So, for you guys on the inside, did you guys feed into that at all, or what was the overall attitude in that locker room, and did it kind of change up the way that the media made it change up throughout the year?
Yeah. Um, That's a good point because I think that no hitter was like a pivotal point in the season in terms
Yeah,
of the outside viewership and the perspective that the fans and I would say the media especially put on us. And like, no hitter, okay, we're gonna start trending upwards and we're gonna ride the high, and then all of a sudden we go on that 11-game losing streak, and now it becomes, we're trading everybody, and so it just happened really fast. From my perspective, that
right.
me coming in, understanding, I'm like, okay, this is the team, like this is the core, we're trending upwards, and then all of a sudden that happened. So I saw it happen relatively quickly. But yeah, I think it was a weird feeling, but at the same time, I hadn't been there very long, so I didn't know what it was like.
Right.
And so
There was
I
no
was kind of
real
like that
attachment.
middleman where I got a little taste of the core, and then was a huge part of the new
Mm,
half of that season, if that makes
yeah.
sense. So like I had like a weird transitional like
Mm.
position.
Right. It's kind of like not that you didn't care about the guys, but like there's no real attachment to that. Whereas like with Hayward and with Wilson, I feel like it's a little bit weirder. Because that's been the last 6, 7 years.
For sure. Yeah, and like that's been the team. Like that was the team for so long, and then all of a sudden they're not there. And so I think it was probably way harder on like guys like you said, Wilson and Hayward, and Hendricks, and guys that have been around for, 5, 6 years. And but for me, like I did have a relationship with them, but at the same time, like I've been in this game long enough, and I've,
Mm,
been around different teams so much, and so I knew like the changeover could be quick. And
right.
so I think I could imagine it was probably a lot hard. I know it was a lot harder on the Chicago fan base, the Cubs fan base, just
Right.
because that's the team that won the World Series, and
Mhm. We'll always,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah, it changed people's lives. So I can only imagine what that was like for them.
Right. And for me, like personally, like, we talked about it behind the show. Me and you have had a couple conversations before at Wrigley. You flexed your 28 home runs, and I'll flex it right now. I sweep peanuts every day for the Wrigley Field Chicago Cubs.
And
No, but it was all reality though, in all seriousness, it was a weird feeling for even the workers. We came into the morning after, because I believe it was, how did it go? It went Rizzo first, and then Javi and Chris. But I
yep,
believe it was Anthony a day prior, and then the other two went after.
yep,
The day following that, um, and the goat Chafin, of course. But it's
yeah,
a situation, you look at it and you say, like, everyone in that ballpark, whether you were, grounds crew, whether you were facilities, no matter what you were, it was like a changing of the guard type of feeling. And it was it wasn't sad, but it was just like an understanding of like, okay, this just happened, and shit got real. Because for the longest time it was the last dance. That's what we all thought this was going to be. um
yeah,
and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with what happened. All those guys got to go to where they wanted to go, and I'm happy for them. We got great prospects in return. So I'm there. I'm no, I don't have any animosity towards Jed or anything like that. But it was definitely a sad feeling to know they didn't get their final farewell tour. Now for you guys, and you don't have to speak for anybody else. You kind of gave your piece, but we talked about it for the people that have been there longer and kind of been watching this. Did you see any change with Kyle or Wilson or Hayward or anybody else, or was it kind of just, okay, this is what we're doing and we're gonna go about our day like nothing's changed?
yeah. I mean, I would say that I just saw them become more vocal, even though like Hayward's, the kind of the OG, like
Right.
he's been around, and he's done some incredible things, and a tremendous list of accolades. But I think it's just more so like, all right, fellas, this is our team now. Like let's roll. We're good. You're here for a reason. Like let's win. Like we're good enough to win still.
Mm,
It's just we all know it's part of the game. So that message was pushed across a lot. Just knowing that, hey guys, like it happened. So like let's continue. We have a game
right.
tonight. We got a game tomorrow. Like we got to win. So yeah. So it was tough. It was weird. It was super weird. Just because we were all in DC. Well, we left before we left for DC. Rizzo got traded, and then when we were in DC, that's when like Brian and Javi got traded. So we're all in the clubhouse watching MLB Network, and all of a sudden we see them get calls and stuff. So it was super strange. I've never been a part of something like that.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean the guys, like you said, that have been around, I would say some of the core that was left really stepped up, and they can just continue that leadership that they've always showed.
Stepped up. He pimps out 28 home runs and he says that he stepped up. That's a way to put it. But we kind of talked about that though, the DC thing. We saw Chris physically on camera finding out that he got traded to the San Francisco Giants, and you look at that, and I kind of wondered, and you don't have to go into deep detail about it, but he was there, like he was at the game, warming up for the game. Now, did he just immediately leave, or was there kind of a goodbye kind of sense, or anything he said to you guys in the locker room, or how did that really transpire?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say he didn't just like leave right away. He said his goodbyes in the clubhouse. He didn't call a team meeting or anything like that, but went around to everybody and said bye and gathered his things. It was emotional, yeah, because I mean, like that's his team. He got drafted, came up
Right.
with them, won the World Series, won an MVP, Rookie of the Year. The
Mm,
list goes on and on. So I think it really has a special place in his heart. So it's got to be tough, when you get the call saying like, "Hey, you're going to a different team." Um, I went through it a little bit with the Cardinals, knowing like I'd spent 6 years with them, and
yeah.
then all of a sudden I'm with a different team, and it's kind of shocking. You don't really know how to feel. But yeah, he was emotional, like you guys saw on the TV, and but I think he thrived in San Francisco, and we'll see what happens this year with free agency. I wish the best for him.
Right. And I'll never ask you to tamper. I'll never ask you anything like that. But just really quick, do you think, obviously Javi's in Detroit, Rizzo and Bryant are still unanswered. What is your take on it? Not from a financial standpoint. I know front office decisions are totally different. But do you think, like, from your heart of hearts, that they would return? Or do you think that's something to where it's just that's in the past is the past, or how do you think it plays out right now?
Yeah, I would say I think that bridge is still there. I think there's still a chance that they could come back. Now, whether they want to or not, I don't know. What that would look like, I have no idea. But I still think there's a small chance that they could come back. I mean, I think that'd be really cool. Whether that be this year or they sign a short-term deal somewhere else and then come back again. So who knows? But I like I said, I think I believe there's a chance that they come back.
Right, and it's very hard to be a part of the media department in Chicago. A big part of it is 1 second Anthony Rizzo hates the Cubs and he hates Jed Hoyer, and Jed Hoyer hates him, and vice versa. And the next minute they're perfectly fine, and none of those rumors were true. So I feel like it's one of those things where you can't take anything anybody says in that heat of the moment, because it's just everyone's trying to get that story out there, and no one really knows until they know. But with that being said, there is one thing, like, for you. What did you know going into that second half of the season? Because obviously and it's very unfair to you. I felt like personally, everyone was like, "Oh, Patrick Wisdom's the face of the Cubs now. This is this." And I was like, how about we just let him do what he's doing, and then like let him be great. Like, he'll just do him. We don't have to put this added pressure on. But was there any added pressure, or was it more of just because I noticed it? I was there on my birthday. You pinned two home runs in a single game. Everyone was electric. Everyone was excited. Everyone was happy. And it kind of just had that understanding of like, this is the guy. And did you start to get that feeling? Did you start to get that vibe that this is your team?
I wouldn't use that term like it's my team because we
Right.
definitely have guys, but I understand what you're saying. I was hitting in the middle of the order. I was playing every day. So that's when I started seeing, I was like, dang, like I'm a huge part of this team rather than, spots starting here and there, coming
Right.
in halfway through the game to pinch hit. And so I saw my role changing, and I wouldn't say it like added any more pressure just because
Right.
this game's, pressure in itself. But
Mm.
I think it just added like a drive and like a will to do better and to do more, which I think kind of hurt me in some areas. But I think it was nice to experience and learn from and understand those feelings. And so
Right.
I think I'm better equipped now mentally and physically to handle it.
Right. And we're going down a dark path. I could feel it. We're talking all about these sad things that happened throughout the year. This is my last question about the entire trade and everything. What was David Ross's entire message to you guys when that happened, when that transpired? Was it, we're just, like you said, with Hayward and Kyle Hendricks, we're still here, we're still trying to compete? Was it like that, or was there anything sentimental to it, to where he's kind of letting you know, like, that happened, and we're just going to take it day by day kind of thing.
Yeah, that was exactly it. Take it day by day, guys. We have a game each night. We got to play the game pitch by pitch because that's all we can do. That's all you can control. And then outside the game, you can connect with them. You can call them. You can feel however you want to feel. But during the game, we got to play and we got to compete. I'm sure it was hard for him just as much as it was for anyone else because he played alongside those guys, won the World Series with them, and
Right.
so I'm sure that was a unique situation to be a part of. But yeah, his message was like just strong and clear. Like, guys, this is your opportunity now to play and take advantage of it, and stick, pitch to pitch and game to game, and we'll see what happens at the end of the season. We'll see where we go and see how much we learn and how well we do.
Right. And to transition into something a little bit more brighter, we talk about you and Frank's relationship. Now, we had Brizzo. It was a beautiful thing. We had Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, but I've noticed a couple T-shirt sales of a combination of Patrick Wisdom and Frank the Tank doing their thing. Can you explain to me that relationship and how you two ended up being a lot closer than you were going into the season, or were you always close?
Yeah, so I had played against him for a couple years in the minor leagues, and so I knew who he was. And then when we got him, I was kind of familiar with him and his playing and stuff. And so when he started taking off, I was like, I knew he could do this because I've seen it before. So it was nothing new to me. But
Mhm.
just to see the way he interacted with the fans and how he played the game, it was nice. It was fun. It was electric. He made the most of every game, and I really appreciated that. And I look forward to doing that again this season. And so, I think that relationship just kind of um, it came together on its own. I don't think we had to force anything, and I think us being on the corners, it helped. And I don't say we're replacing Brizzo by any means. That's their thing, and they did great with that. I don't want to replace that. I don't want to be those people that, we're replacing,
Right.
Rizzo and Brian. I think it will be our own thing, and we'll have our own tandem going.
Right. And I think that's the perfect way to put it because so many people, especially with, the Chicago Bears, you get the monsters of the Midway again. I got my guy Urlacher up here when Khalil Mack came, they go, oh, it'll never be like it was, and that's an unfair expectation. I think you just have to go into it with the validity of the relationship and the overall just chemistry of that team. So not that you're so replacing them,
No,
but just
yeah,
know very quickly you will become those guys that everyone's paying attention to. You look at the Bulls right now. No one's trying to make it to the point to where it's like, oh well, we're replacing Derrick Rose, we're replacing all those guys.
yeah,
I'm
exactly,
enjoying the ride.
exactly. Yeah, it's a different team. It's a different year. We're different people, so I think just understanding that and being open to that concept.
Right. And we talk about different people. And so far, Clint Frazier, a couple others, and Marcus Stroman get added to the Chicago Cubs. What does that do for your expectation going into next season? Not saying that, if you didn't add anybody, you don't think you'd compete, because obviously it's everybody's mentality is to compete. But to bring in someone as vocal as Marcus, who's kind of recruiting Carlos Correa as we speak,
Yeah.
saw that a little bit. And to double up on that, to follow up, what are your thoughts on the Carlos Correa situation, and what would that mean if he came into the picture?
Sure. Yeah. So to your first question, I would say it's exciting. I mean, to add exciting players, it makes it very exciting. That's a play on words, and so I think the fans should be thrilled. I think they should be eager to come out to games and watch us. I think it's going to be a lot of excitement. It's going to be, with Stroman, a lot of flair and a lot of competitiveness and a lot of winning. Clint Frazier's another spectacular player to watch. He's incredibly talented. And so, I think we added Miley as well. So, I mean,
Yeah.
another great pitcher, same division. So now that he's on our side, I think it's a little better. And so, I'm excited. I think the fans should be super excited as well. And we still have some off season left and there still could be some signings. And so, I wouldn't just close the book on free agents right now. So that transition into the next
Mhm.
question is Carlos Correa. I think he's a tremendous player. I think he's very gifted. Obviously, you've seen what he's done in Houston.
Right.
One World Series, and so what he can do in the field and with the bat is incredible. And so I think he can only help the team. I'm not going to say he's going to hurt the team because a player of his caliber would only help us. So we'll see what happens. I literally have no idea. But like I said, I think he would be a good asset. A good asset.
Right. And you kind of talk about that, we're not done with free agency kind of thing. And usually by this time we'd be done. But with the lockout and everything else, is there, I'm also going to say this, free Ken, because Ken Rosenthal got the bug and got cut for literally no reason. But
Yeah.
with this lockout and everything going on, what does that do for someone like you? Because, they have guys obviously, that have been in the league for 10 plus years. They've already made over $100 million. And for you to finally get your footing in and to potentially have the season delayed, does that change anything for you? How do you approach, potentially not having a spring training, and what does that do for you?
Yeah, it throws a wrench in it for sure. But I understand it. It's business, and I get it. The player inside of me, I just want to play, but obviously, the business side of me like understands that, hey, we got to figure this out. We got to negotiate. We got to talk. Both sides have to talk in order to get stuff done, and that's kind of where I stand. Is like, in order to get anything done, we both got to communicate.
Mm,
Communication is huge. So um, I look forward to getting everything resolved, and what that looks like, I have no idea.
right.
But I hope it's soon because I love spring training. I love being around the guys. It's such a good time. You're learning, you're working out, you're getting sweaty. You're just around the guys all day, and so it makes it a lot of fun. And then you roll right into season, and so I hope we can get it resolved so there's no delay in any sort of spring training or season. That's my wish.
Right. And just to make things a little bit more positive again, because it's just been a couple dark days and for the Cubs and just for the MLB lately. For you, coming into Wrigley, obviously you've been here a couple years now. What is that overall feeling like now that you're kind of settling in? You don't have to name your favorite spots, but what are your favorite things to do around town and just spend your off time?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, I love Chicago. I love playing at Wrigley. We stayed right near the field, so that entire area was super cool. Being able to walk to and from the field, my wife and kids being able to walk around, when I'm not there is huge as well. And I think some of the things we like to do, we love to take our kids to the zoo, the Lincoln Park. I think it's called the Lincoln Park Zoo,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, I just called it the zoo. So
No, that's fine. We
yeah,
do.
so, just seeing the animals, being outside, we'd always walk by the lake, especially in the summer when it wasn't too hot. It's just gorgeous out.
Mm,
And then I was a big fan of the architectural tour on the boat. I mean, that was so cool. It was so informative. I think you need to take it a couple times just to get everything. But
yeah.
yeah, and then the food spots are also good too. I mean, you can't go wrong with a deep dish pizza in Chicago. I know it's kind of their staple, but I mean, it's good. I love pizza, so I have no issue with it. And so yeah, just being outside honestly is a huge thing for us, and we
Right.
kind of try to hit new spots or learn from other guys that have been around there, and they know some cool spots to hit as well.
Right. And I'll keep you with one last question because I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you're a busy man.
Oh, you're all
So
right.
one of the biggest things I was wondering, throughout the entire year, you're part of a no-hitter. You're part of all this other stuff. You're playing against Fernando Tatis Jr. and so many other amazing talents. If you could mark down top three favorite moments of the year for you, what would that look like?
Oh, good question. Good question. Um, so yeah, I'll say from a personal standpoint, it would be like the first home series I was a part of, right when
Mm,
I got called up because I hit a couple home runs. My family in town, and it was just super exciting, just like riding that high. It was pretty incredible, something I won't ever forget. And then that no hitter was super special. Even though I think if you watch the replay, you can see me kind of perplexed, like why are we
right.
celebrating?
Nobody knew they threw a new
Yeah,
hitter.
and they're like, "We just threw a no-hitter," and I was like, "Oh, like, that's so cool." And then I would say the the last one would be, I think, like, an accumulation of the year, like, all the experiences I had were just a lot of so different, being able to travel with the team and, talk with new guys, like, establish new friendships and relationships, learn about guys,
Mm,
um, that I've seen play on TV for so long, and being understand, the person they are, I think, I'll always remember. So I think I'm like an accumulation of the entire year I'll use as like an entire experience.
right. So, well, Patrick, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. And I just wanted to give you just a minute or two or however long you want. Is there anything you have going on, charities, anything that you want to shout out or just bring to the table for everybody listening?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start working with um, St. Jude Children's Hospital. They do tremendous work for children. Where the children and the families don't have to pay a single penny. So I think my time in Memphis really, I got involved there too when I was in Memphis. So now I think it's so important to continue that relationship, and so I'm just going to continue to work with them. And then I played alongside Braden Bishop, and he's got a charity called For Mom, and it deals with ALS. And so those two I think are important to highlight. And I just look forward to those relationships and continuing that support. And so I just want to say thank you, Mike, for having me on. And
Thanks.
this is a blast just to chat with you and just talk back and forth.
Yeah, man, it was an honor having you on. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And next year, I'm looking for that 30 piece from you. I'm gonna need that 30 piece.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Both that makes two of us. But thank you again, Mike. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.